My girlfriend said, "It was just physical." I replied, "Then pack your things." Then I sent his wife the screenshots, emailed HR, packed her boxes, and smiled, because she still had no idea HR and his wife were waiting at that team lunch. A year later, I finally understood peace isn't silence, it's clarity. We'd been together almost 3 years. The kind of relationship that felt stable, weekend routines, shared bills, matching toothbrushes, nothing dramatic, nothing particularly wrong. Her name's Lily. 31, smart, funny, the kind of woman who could walk into a room and instantly charm everyone. I'm 33, a software project manager, not the most exciting guy, but I've always been steady. I thought that counted for something. The first real off moment came about 6 months ago. She'd been working later and later, claiming it was because her company was restructuring and everyone was pulling long hours. It didn't sit right with me, but I tried to trust her. Then she started coming home showered and changed, saying she didn't want to bring the office smell home. Her phone, once left lying around without thought, was suddenly face down and always on silent. Her laptop had a new password. I told myself not to spiral. I'd seen friends blow up good relationships over paranoia. But there's a difference between paranoia and pattern recognition. The night it all really cracked, she came home buzzed from what she said was a team dinner. She dropped her purse, laughed, and called me Evan. She tried to play it off immediately, said I'd misheard, that she was just slurring. But my name and Evan don't sound alike, and her eyes said enough. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, while she was showering, I opened her laptop to look for a flight confirmation we'd booked together. When I typed Airbnb in the search bar, the suggestion that autofilled stopped my breathing. Airbnb, Evan Weekend, Boston. My hands went cold. I didn't open it right away. I just sat there staring at the screen. There's a strange, hollow silence that happens when you realize you're about to confirm the thing you've been denying. I clicked. The listing was for a 2-night stay. Check-in, last weekend. Guests, 2 adults. She'd told me she'd been at an off-site training. I didn't confront her that day, or the next. Instead, I called in sick to work, sat at my desk, and started doing what I do best, organizing information. I pulled up backups from our shared cloud drive, checked the metadata on a few photos, and pieced together the trail. There they were, weeks of texts with Evan, director of sales. Flirty, then intimate. Pictures, hotel receipts under her name, matching weekends she'd claimed to be working. He was married. I knew because one text from her said, "Can't wait to see you. I hate that she still has your ring on." And he replied, "It's complicated. You know I'm trying to figure things out." They always are. I sat there for hours, scrolling, screenshotting, saving copies. Every message burned, but I wasn't angry yet. I was weirdly calm, detached, like I was watching someone else's life unravel. That night, she came home smiling, holding takeout, kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong. She asked if I wanted Thai or sushi next time we ordered in. I looked at her, still smiling, and asked quietly, "Who's Evan?" Her entire body froze. The color drained from her face. For a long moment, she didn't say anything, just blinked, like she was trying to process the safest version of the truth. Then she said, carefully, "It was just physical." And that was the moment everything in me shut off. I remember the exact tone of my own voice, calm, even, like I was giving directions. "Then pack your things." Her face broke. "Wait, what? You're not even going to let me explain?" "No, you've explained enough." I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and started making coffee because my hands needed something to do that didn't involve throwing something through a wall. She started crying, saying it didn't mean anything, that it was just stress, and that she messed up once. But I'd seen the timestamps. The weekends, the hotel, the long "miss you already" messages. You don't accidentally destroy trust for months on end. When she finally realized I wasn't engaging, she grabbed her purse and slammed the door on the way out. I sat at the kitchen table for a while, staring at the wall, the hum of the fridge the only sound in the apartment. Then I opened my laptop again. If it was just physical, fine. Then I'd deal with it physically too. Documents, evidence, reality. No shouting, no pleading, no begging. Just action. That's when the idea began forming in my head. The part where this wouldn't end in another tearful apology or recycled lie. I'd learned something about people in tech and marketing. They care deeply about their image. And Lily? Her entire world ran on perception. So if she'd built her little fantasy with Evan around deception, I decided the truth could dismantle it just as neatly. But first, I made sure to save every single file. The morning after she left, I woke up to silence, not the peaceful kind, but the kind that feels like the house itself is holding its breath. Her side of the bed was still warm, a few hairs on the pillow, her mug still on the counter. I wasn't angry anymore, just empty. But that emptiness quickly turned into focus. If she thought this would fade into some quiet breakup where I eventually forgive her, she'd badly misjudged me. I didn't want revenge. I wanted reality to hit her without me saying a word. I spent the next 2 days working quietly. I backed up every message and photo from her cloud drive, cross-checked timestamps with her work calendar, her off-site meetings, and the receipts in our shared email. Then I noticed something that made everything align perfectly. She had a team lunch scheduled that Friday at noon, at the same restaurant where she and Evan had their first date, according to her texts. The invite listed her, him, and 2 other coworkers. I recognized one of the names, Rachel. Rachel was Evan's wife. How did I know? Because in one of Lily's texts, she'd said, "I hate when Rachel likes your posts. She knows." And his reply, "She doesn't." HR made her follow the company's socials. That told me 2 things. Rachel worked in HR. She probably didn't know. Not yet. That was about to change. I spent Thursday night preparing my package. Screenshots, message logs, photos, and calendar entries all organized in a clean PDF with timestamps visible. No commentary. No he said slash she said. Just data. I even titled it, "For Your Awareness, Timeline of Employee Conduct." At 8:13 a.m. Friday, I sent it to the company's HR inbox and CC'd Rachel's direct email. Subject line: Potential conflict of interest / breach of conduct policy. I didn't sign it. Didn't need to. Then, 10 minutes later, I sent another email. This one directly to Rachel's personal address, with a simple message. "You don't know me, but you deserve to see this before lunch today. I'm sorry." Attached, the same PDF. By the time Lily came out of the bathroom getting ready for her meeting, I'd already decided how to end this chapter. She was wearing that beige blazer she saved for important clients, perfume a little heavier than usual. She caught me watching her and said, "What?" "Nothing," I said. "Have fun at lunch." She gave me a weird look, but brushed it off, grabbed her bag, and left. At 12:27 p.m., I got my first text. "What the hell did you do?" Then another. "HR is here. Rachel is here. What did you send them?" And finally, "You've ruined my life. Are you proud of yourself?" I didn't reply. Instead, I went to the closet, pulled out 2 large boxes, and started neatly folding her clothes. Labeled them bedroom and bathroom. Packed her shoes, her hair tools, her notebooks. When I got to her nightstand, I found a card I'd written her months ago for her birthday. It said, "You're my calm in the chaos." I dropped it in the trash without hesitation. She showed up later that evening, red-eyed, shaking, her voice cracking between fury and panic. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she said. "They suspended me. He's probably getting fired." Rachel screamed at him in front of everyone. I just kept packing. "You shouldn't have been with a married man," I said. "You don't understand. It wasn't like that." "Then explain it to HR." I interrupted. "Or to Rachel. I'm done being your audience." She started crying, again, but this time it wasn't guilt. It was self-pity. She wanted me to reassure her, to tell her she wasn't a bad person. But I wasn't playing that role anymore. She finally asked, voice small, "You sent everything, didn't you?" I nodded. Every last message. Her knees went weak. She sat down on the couch, staring into nothing. "Why would you do that?" "Because you told me it was just physical," I said. "So I kept it that way, purely factual." She didn't say another word, just sat there for a few minutes, then got up and started gathering what she could carry. I didn't stop her. When she walked out the door, she looked back once, like she wanted me to say something, to leave an opening for a maybe one day. But I just said, "Take care, Lily." Then I locked the door behind her. That was Friday. By Monday, both she and Evan were no longer on the company website. And me? I was just fine. Exhausted, yes, but fine. Because while she was telling lies over lunch, HR and a furious wife were waiting for her, exactly where she least expected them. And for the first time in months, the silence in my apartment didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. Update 1. It's been about 4 months since everything went down. The emails, the team lunch, the fallout. You'd think it would have ended the moment she walked out that door, but the echoes lasted longer than I expected. For the first 2 weeks, Lily tried to control the narrative. She texted me a few times, not to apologize, but to explain. Messages like, "You didn't have to humiliate me. Evan said you're a psycho for going through my stuff. I hope you're happy. You ruined 2 people's lives." It was always me ruining things, not her. Not the fact that she'd been sleeping with a married coworker. Not the lies, not the manipulation. No, it was my refusal to keep her secrets that made me cruel. Then came the online performance. A long, vague Instagram caption about betrayal, privacy, and learning to love yourself after being weaponized. She even added, "People will twist your truth to fit their guilt," which, I'll admit, almost made me laugh. Comments were full of "you got this, queen," and "cut toxic men out of your life." But the replies slowed down when her followers realized Evan's wife had posted her own story the same day, a photo of divorce papers with the caption, "When HR emails hit harder than karma." That one went mildly viral in their little professional circle. I didn't share it. I didn't comment. I just watched it unfold like a storm I no longer had to stand in. 3 weeks later, a friend of Lily's, someone who'd always been polite to me, messaged to say, "I don't know what she told you, but she's saying you hacked her accounts." I wasn't surprised. I simply forwarded the email receipt from the PI service she'd used months ago to check if I was cheating, irony at its finest, and the shared drive access that she herself had authorized years earlier. Never underestimate the power of receipts. By month 2, the silence set in. No more posts, no more texts. I heard through mutuals that she'd moved back in with her sister and was looking for new opportunities. Evan had lost both his job and his marriage. He apparently tried to contact her afterward, but Rachel's attorney made that impossible. Restraining order, apparently. I didn't feel joy hearing it, just a dull sense of inevitability. Around that time, I started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I didn't want to carry bitterness disguised as self-protection. My therapist asked me something that stuck. "Why did you collect evidence instead of confronting her?" I told her the truth. Because I knew if I confronted her, she'd talk her way out of it. I needed to remind myself I wasn't crazy. That's what betrayal does. It makes you question your reality until you have to prove it to yourself. One evening, I went through the folder of screenshots one last time. Not to relive it, but to close it. Then I copied it to a USB drive, labeled it Lessons, and locked it in a desk drawer. There's no satisfaction in seeing someone destroy themselves, only clarity. And clarity, I learned, can be quiet. A few weeks ago, I saw Lily at a mutual friend's birthday. She looked different, smaller, older somehow. She gave me a nod across the room. Not angry, not ashamed, just tired. Later that night, she sent one last text. I didn't realize how much I was losing until it was gone. "You didn't deserve any of it." I stared at it for a while. Then I deleted it. No response. Because closure doesn't come from their apology. It comes from not needing one anymore. Final update that it's been just over a year since that day she said, "It was just physical." Funny how one sentence can cleave your life cleanly in half, before and after. People always imagine closure as fireworks or revenge, but mine came quietly. No grand gestures. No courtroom drama. Just distance, time, and an unshakable sense that I'd finally stopped betraying myself by making excuses for someone else. For months after she left, I kept waiting for anger to fade into indifference. But what surprised me was how long confusion lingered instead. Not confusion about her. That part was simple. It was confusion about me. How had I, someone so rational, so careful, missed the signs for so long? How had I accepted less every time she asked me to, until there was nothing left to protect? That realization was harder to face than her cheating. Because betrayal makes you doubt your judgment, not just in people, but in your own intuition. Therapy helped. So did solitude. For the first time in years, I started living alone, really alone. No one else's things in my drawers, no half-shared routines. I found peace in small rituals. Morning coffee on the balcony, evening runs with no destination, deleting social media apps that made everyone's lives look edited for envy. There's something deeply healing about silence when it's not empty anymore. I eventually started dating again. Slowly, carefully. I met someone through a mutual friend, Mia. She's nothing like Lily. No theatrics, No curated charm. She laughs too loudly, burns toast, and apologizes when she's wrong. Actually apologizes. I didn't tell her the full story at first. When I finally did, she just said, "I don't think you're cold for what you did. You just stopped pretending someone else's comfort mattered more than your dignity." That sentence hit me harder than anything Lily ever said. A few months ago, I heard that Lily had moved states. Apparently, she freelances now, consulting for small brands. Someone sent me a screenshot of one of her Instagram captions. "Growth is realizing you can't control what people think of your story." I scrolled past without feeling anything. No anger, no vindication, just recognition that she's living her version of the truth, and I'm living mine. There's a box in my closet, the one with her name on it, packed that day after the team lunch. Inside are two old mugs, a few photos, a letter she once wrote me about forever. I've moved twice since then, but I still carry that box. Not because I can't let go, but because I no longer need to destroy evidence of my past to move on from it. It's proof that I can survive being deceived without becoming cynical. Sometimes, late at night, I still replay that moment. Her standing in the kitchen, saying it was just physical, like it was a parking ticket, not a demolition. And I remember the way my voice sounded when I said, "Then pack your things." No shouting, no trembling, just finality. That tone has followed me since, steady, calm, non-negotiable. I don't tell this story to brag. I tell it because I've learned that boundaries don't make you cruel, they make you honest. There's a strange kind of peace in losing someone you loved and realizing the only thing you actually lost was a version of yourself that accepted less than respect. Lily once told me I was too logical about emotions. Maybe she was right, because in the end, I didn't burn her world down out of rage. I simply stopped shielding her from the consequences she built herself. And that's not vengeance. That's justice, quiet, clean, and overdue.